Thanks for the lift, jerk.
Kinda quiet.
Yeah, too quiet. Let's go make some noise.
How's it going, you beautiful bastards? Welcome back to another gaming video. Today we're going to do a little bit of a retrospective review of Evil Dead Regeneration. I'm your host Reno, and I recently beat this game for the first time. I'm also a very big fan of Evil Dead, and Ash Williams is probably my favorite character in fiction. So that is about my qualifications for making this review. I played the game, I beat it once. I don't have any nostalgia tied into it. I didn't play this game as a kid, I never owned it. My first experience ever was literally a few weeks ago when I downloaded it and I was like, hey, I should play this game. It seems pretty fun. It seems like the best Evil Dead game there is, and I was in the mood for something Evil Dead related. And since we're literally starved fans that don't receive any new games or shows or anything, apparently there is a cartoon show in the works with Ash Williams, of course, being voiced by Bruce Campbell, the only voice actor for Ash. But unfortunately, there is no release date yet for that. It doesn't seem like we're going to be getting that anytime sooner, at least not any news from it until like 2026. But yes, now I was in the mood for something Evil Dead-esque. I decided to play this game and I was not disappointed, because it did not disappoint. This is a really good game and it holds up surprisingly well in 2025. Believe me when I say that this shit is groovy, it's groovy, because it is. And for a game that is literally 20 years plus old, it is insane how well it still holds up in the current day and age. This game was of course released all the way back in 2005 on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. I'm surprised that it's an original Xbox title, because I honestly thought that this was like Xbox 360 era. It seems like Xbox 360 era. I'm really surprised that they got this to work on some of the older systems, the old gen, I guess old gen systems. But yeah, this was definitely something that could have worked for Xbox 360. It doesn't have any backwards compatibility, unfortunately, but I do think that this game should definitely get some Xbox backwards compatibility, or at least a little texture remaster, you know, like an HD version or something like that, because this game is HD at 720p, but I mean this shit would still look great in 4K. So if this game nowadays got a remaster or a little bit of a remake, I think that it would be great, and I think that they could just improve so much more upon it and improve upon some of the older mechanics as well. Speaking of the mechanics, we're going to talk about the gameplay real quick and what makes Evil Dead Regeneration such a fucking lit game. And one of those things are of course Ash Williams being voiced by Bruce Campbell, which is obviously the only actor for Ash Williams. You can't do anybody else. You can't have anybody else trying to take over his role, because Ash Williams is Bruce Campbell. That is just how it is. That is how it always will be. And he does an exceptional job in this, of course, as always. And then we also have his little sidekick buddy over here, his partner, which is Sam, surprisingly enough actually voiced by Sam Raimi's brother, Tom Raimi. If you're not familiar with those names, then you definitely should look them up, because it has a lot to do with Evil Dead and Spider-Man, the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. But anyways, back on track to the main game. So the gameplay of the game is quite simple. It kind of reminds me in a way of Devil May Cry. I hate to compare it to other games, but it's kind of like Devil May Cry inspired. It feels like a hack and slash game. It's not really a beat 'em up, it's more like a hack and slash. I mean, you're just slashing motherfuckers with a chainsaw. What else can you want? You've also got your trustworthy boomstick, which is the shotgun that you're going to use the majority of the game. There's also a pistol in your loadout. The pistol isn't the best, the revolver neither, but the revolver is kind of fun. It looks cool, but it's just an annoyance compared to the shotgun. And the pistol is actually really useful against these bloated enemies that you'll start seeing later on in the game. But other than that, the pistol is pretty much useless, and you're much safer rather just sticking with your good old trusty smart boomstick. But yes, the 12 gauge Remington is really helpful in this game. It's great. You've also got a selection of chainsaws to choose from. We have the original chainsaw, which later on gets upgraded in the story, which is than just much better and stronger. There's also the chainsaw that literally is a flamethrower. A flamethrower chainsaw. I don't know if there's anything cooler than that, but in this game it isn't very useful. It's practically useless, but still a very cool concept. We've then got the grappling hook chainsaw, which is definitely the best thing that man has ever invented. I mean, Albert Einstein couldn't think of this shit. Whoever decided to make this a thing deserves not only a raise, but to be written down in the Hall of Fame and be remembered in a time capsule somewhere when the earth ends. We need people to still know who did this, because I don't even know who this did, who even came up with this idea, but it's such a unique and cool concept. I mean, it's so ahead of its time. Grappling hooks are still a thing nowadays in video games, but nah, Ash Williams decided to do this shit in 2005 when I think Bionic Commando hasn't even done it yet. Like, Evil Dead was ahead of its time, man. And the grappling hook in this is pretty damn cool. You do use it for some of the minor puzzles, and then you use it for most of the gameplay. At least I did. I ran through this game mostly with the grappling hook chainsaw, because you can just like grab enemies, pull them in, get over here, Mortal Kombat style, pull a scorpion on their ass and absolutely blast them. It's great. It's tons of fun. Ash Williams, like I said, Bruce Campbell does a great job at the voice acting, Tom Raimi as well with Sam, and these two are quite the dynamic duo. I mean, it is probably one of my favorite duos that I've seen so far in fiction. I mean, it is amazing. We've got Sam, which is absolutely hated and despised by Ash, and you will hear that throughout the entire game with tons of friendly banter, which sometimes feels like just on the edge of being offensive. I mean, this game definitely has some offensive humor. Like, for 2005, it's pretty standard, but I mean, if you were to play this game nowadays with the same humor and everything, this shit will probably get cancelled before it's released. So maybe that's why we haven't gotten a remaster or a remake or anything yet. But yes, this is definitely not only the best Evil Dead game, but it might be one of the best games from this era, because I had a ton of fun with it. Not only is the game so much fun with all of the humor with Ash and Sam, you know, just bantering back and forth, there's also a ton of puzzles in the game, which aren't like, I don't really want to call them puzzles, because they're not necessarily difficult or anything. Like, they're not going to require a lot of brain power. You don't have to be Stephen Hawking to solve these puzzles, you feel me? But the puzzles are actually really cool, because I'm not a big puzzle guy, okay? I hate being puzzled. I hate struggling. Life is already a struggle, man. You don't want to struggle in video games as well. And I'm not the smartest when it comes to the puzzles or anything really, but the puzzles in this game are actually very easy and very fun to do as well. There was like a time here and there where I kind of got stuck, but it was just something very stupid that I didn't realize. Like, at the closer to the end of the game, there's these, I think these like things that you have to light on fire, these like beacons. You have to light these beacons on fire, and I was stuck there for like a second, because I was like, I don't know how to activate these beacons, and I was like, wait, I've got a flamethrower, let's try lighting them on fire, and I did it, and it worked. It's the type of puzzles that makes you think like you're playing an old game, you know, that kind of gives you freedom in thinking. It's not something that is like forced, you know. I don't know how to necessarily explain this, but the best way I can think of explaining it is that they give you puzzles that really make you feel accomplished. It's something like blowing up a barrel with a cracked wall, something that you would easily overlook as a new gen gamer, but something that if you do eventually see it, you're gonna be like, oh, that's so simple, it was right in front of my eyes. If it was a cobra, it would probably fucking bit me, or would have bit me. I don't know, man. I'm tired, I'm baked as always. But anyways, this was a great game. The gameplay, like I said, very Devil May Cry-esque. It's a hack and slash. You're gonna run around and fuck these dudes up, all of the Deadites, with a chainsaw and your small arsenal of weapons. Now, I know that there isn't a ton of weapons and stuff to choose from, but the gameplay is still very diverse. It keeps it interesting with the little duo dynamic of Sam and Ash, where you can literally kick him into enemies, onto enemies. You can kick this motherfucker into a wood chipper if you want to, and he'll just get obliterated and regenerate, of course, hence the name Regeneration, I assume. But yes, a very odd character to introduce into the Evil Dead franchise. I know that was probably controversial at the time, but I think that it's a great character, and I think that the duo, like I said, is probably one of the best in fiction. I really loved the bond that these two had formed throughout this entire game. But yes, now the gameplay has this loop of killing waves and waves of enemies. At least there are different enemies, and a lot of them are different in unique ways. You know, some of them will be a bit more difficult. You'll have to kick Sam at him to break his defense. You'll have to like do something. You have to kill them very quickly before they get to you and like puke on you or some shit like that. So there's a unique variety of enemies in this game that tend to keep it fun and entertaining. There's also a boss battle at every level, and I have to say that the boss battles were probably the most fun that I've had in this game. The second boss battle was quite tricky, but the rest of the boss battles were quite easy. I mean, it might just be easy for me, you know, I am of course a Dark Souls expert after all. But yes, the bosses were pretty fun. They were very classic, you know, you could feel that you're battling bosses in an old game. They were very punishing and not as rewarding. But I mean, not like rewarding with items and stuff, but they were actually like rewarding you when you like defeated the boss. You had that sense of accomplishment, you know, because it was actually a tough boss, and you felt like you were just like barely making it, because there isn't a lot of HP regeneration or anything like that. Sometimes I would defeat a boss by hanging literally by a thread, and I mean, that's great. It's a great sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. So you definitely do get rewarded in that sense, but there's no actual in-game rewards for defeating a boss. But yeah, the game takes off where Evil Dead 1 ended the movie, of course. You know, the cabin in the woods, chopped off his hand, got a badass chainsaw and a shotgun. Now he's the coolest motherfucker in fiction. So that's where this game takes off. It doesn't take off where like Army of Darkness ended or anything like that. This is actually one of the only universes where Army of Darkness doesn't exist, which, I mean, I don't want to be in that universe, man. But yeah, this is still somehow really good. They really did end up making a pretty good story out of this, although there is a lot of plot holes. One of these plot holes is, of course, Ash getting his evil version. It basically gets explained that the more Deadites he kills, the more evil he's gonna get, you know, and eventually he's gonna be like become possessed or some shit by this evil Ash. And I mean, you can of course turn into evil Ash as well during the gameplay when your power meter is, or your energy meter is filled up completely. Then you can turn into evil Ash, which is pretty cool, you know, damage boosts and buffs and all kinds of shit like that. It's practically Super Saiyan mode of Ash Williams, which is pretty hard, not gonna lie. But they don't ever build upon that. They just kind of drop that on you, and they never build upon that part of the story. And the game also ends on a massive motherfucking cliffhanger, like Evil Dead usually does. I mean, the Ash vs Evil Dead series ended on probably the worst goddamn cliffhanger of all time. I hate it so much, but I love it. And the same thing goes for the ending of this game. Visually, I think that it still holds up very well in 2025. The current day and age, it still looks great. Like I said, 720 isn't that bad. It still looks very good. It looks like an Xbox 360 era title, although the game is extremely dark. I mean, I guess it is technically a horror game, but yes, the game is extremely dark, so the video quality is amped up a lot, like saturated and everything. So it looks good for you. Kind of looks like a little remaster, but believe me, it was very much darker in this game. It felt like stage 4 load shedding up in this bitch for my South Africans out there. But yeah, visually it still looks really good. Sound design, shout out to Dolby Studios, Dolby Digital. The sound in this was pretty good. It did feel like some moments were a bit off with the sound, but it was probably intentional, you know, like some scenes, some cutscenes and stuff. Speaking of cutscenes, the cutscenes were pretty good. They were very laggy at first, like the first few cutscenes were in like 8 frames per second, and I did stutter at this one level, especially where the gameplay is showing right now. I remember stuttering a few times to like 10 frames per second, where I had to restart the game and then it was back to normal. That might have just been a problem with a copy of mine that I had or got, but yeah, it might not be a global issue. That's just a little something that I wanted to point out. Optimization wise, this game will practically run on a toaster. I mean, you can play this shit on your school laptop and you'll probably have a great time doing it. So the optimization is good. Visually it looks great. Sound design is good. The music isn't too bad. I really love the music theme that plays when you get to control Sam. I mean, that is just such a banger. I don't know who made that song, but they're next to like fucking Kendrick Lamar. You feel me? They're truly top 10. They're one of the GOATs. I don't know why I said Kendrick Lamar. I don't even really listen to him. But yeah, I think that it's a really good game and it still holds up well. Even though the cycle of gameplay is just killing a bunch of enemies, like I said, at least they're varying in enemies. It's not the same enemies all the time. And there's also the scenes, of course, the little gameplay segments where you get to control Sam and then you have to solve like a little puzzle and it's tons of fun. Sam doesn't have the best combat compared to Ash, so the Sam I usually just ran past and did what I had to do, but it was still fun playing as the little bugger. And like I said, the dynamic duo, it's great. This is a great duo because I laughed my ass off so many times, and like I said, some of the humor is really offensive because I remember one of the lines from Sam being, "I'm about to use you like $2 whore," and that line just caught me off guard during combat. I had to pause the game and just laugh hysterically for like 5 minutes because you can't say that shit nowadays, but that just makes this game so much better. It makes it feel like a time capsule, you know, something that's truly, it has the essence of 2005 written all over it and inside of it. So I think that it's great. If you're a fan of nostalgia, whether you've played the game or not, you should definitely check it out. I think that it's tons of fun. It's definitely a bit of a challenge. It's definitely a little bit frustrating at times, especially with some of the like quote-unquote trailing missions where you have to protect Sam, but really they weren't that much of an issue. Just another great part of the gameplay. The game isn't even that long either. You can probably beat this shit in like 4 hours, but I do think that it is worth it, especially if you're a fan of Evil Dead. If you're an Evil Dead fan, this game is top tier and highly recommended. But yes, that's going to be it for the retrospective review of Evil Dead Regeneration. I had a blast with it, and I'm going to go ahead and give this game a total of 8.5 out of 10. I definitely think that it deserves a remaster or a remake. Also, the controls on keyboard and mouse, since this is obviously a console game originally, I think that the console controls were probably the way that it was meant to be played, but on keyboard and mouse it still felt good. Like, it was still ported well. It's a good PC port. It felt good. You know, I could play with WASD. I could look around with the mouse, even though the like camera angles are very limiting. I think that's where a remaster or a remake will really shine and kind of resurrect this game from the dead, almost like the Evil Dead franchise. Hopefully, we can only hope. But yeah, that's about it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to see more Game Nugs retrospective reviews, please do consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you all again in the next video. Peace out.